Hello, hello. Amanda Gregg coming to you with your Friday Spark. So, welcome to Friday. I hope you had a wonderful week. And I wanted to continue our conversation from our Take Flight class. So, if you are in the class or you are not in the class, this content is really helpful in thinking about what shadow work means. And perhaps you've read things about shadow work or done some different things within that area. And I want to dive a little bit deeper into that. If you're watching this and you don't know who I am, my name is Amanda Gregg, and I have a company called Soaring Eagle Healing. This business and the work that I am called to do is helping people get connected and centered in their body. And that means by getting comfortable, by instituting movement, mindfulness, and creating a sense of energy and realizing that all is energy. And this really helps people. And what I've seen is help with anxiety, with procrastination, and really working to be the best version of themselves. And so that is where we start today. A lot of what I also do and what I talk about a lot is this opportunity to provide consistency and to institute curiosity into the different topics that I talk about. So, as we look at what our topic is today, I invite you to really put on those two and feel what that feels like as we start to talk about this area. So, today, without further ado, we are talking about and diving a little bit deeper into that shadow side of us and that light side of us. And we talk about that looking like a yin yang. So there are those two sides of us. And when we can look at ourselves as this whole, that there is an opportunity to really embrace the sides of us that maybe we don't like or come up in situations that we don't like. And we can really dig deeper into that area. And once we realize that and see that for what it is, that it can then create a different way to move forward in our lives. And not all the time does that have to change, but it can also change if it's something that you're seeing that you really do want to make a change for yourself. So within this light and dark, I just watched an interview from Carolyn Elliott, who we talked about in class this week, and she does existential kink, and great book on your book list, and one that I highly recommend. And this interview was really, really interesting, and I thought provided a different way of looking at things. Like I tell you, I provide you a lot of different tools, and if they resonate, great. And if they don't, that's fine too. And what I saw was there was this tool that we talked about looking at the shadow and coming up with some of the words in that area, and then looking at the light in some of those words in that area. And we talked about that potentially sometimes those words may be opposite, but there might be some different words that come up. And so I want to offer a different way of looking at this tool that might resonate with you a little bit better. So Carolyn talked a lot about how we view that light and dark. So you can look at it like an iceberg. So the tip of the iceberg being out of the water, and that being the area of our ego and our consciousness. And then under the water is actually some of our unconscious and some of that piece of us that then is the shadow. And so you can kind of view that in how you can look at this work as well. So when we're thinking about something that we don't like, we can look at that from sort of underneath the water and some of that unconscious piece about what we don't like. So, like we talked about in class, it is like looking at a scenario and a circumstance that is something that we don't like and really starting to explore what that means and what some of those words may be. So, as we think about that, so for instance, at the top of the iceberg, was something that perhaps I want is that I want to serve people in a way that helps them move forward. But on the opposite side of what Carolyn says is there can be also an unconscious want if we are seeing something in front of us that doesn't match that, that's saying, I want to stay within myself. I don't want to share. Um, and it could be this opportunity where, for myself, when sometimes I'm writing posts or writing content and really want to share my words, sometimes it can be hard. And so sometimes I can say that I don't like to write those things. And so when I look at that deeper, I do want to share my message on a conscious level, but on a unconscious level, there might be this opportunity to really look at, well, maybe I don't want to share my message. And what does that say about perhaps the shadow side of me? And so, with that, you can start to take those circumstances, take those things that are coming in and coming in as something I don't like, and being able to view them from the top of the iceberg in something conscious, something in the light, something that you really want, and looking at also the unconscious and some of the shadow that may be within that that is really resonating for you. Now, my example is for me. And so, as you start to think about that for yourself, it may not pertain to you. And it may not pertain to you that that is the opposite of what your want is at the top of that iceberg. And so, really being able to use that part that we talked about in class as well is that sensation and seeing when you hit that moment of saying, here's what I want, here's what the opposite could be in an unconscious and a shadow side, and seeing if there's any sensation that gives you an indication that you are in a space that that might be true for you. And then being able to really start exploring that and allowing that shadow to be what it is. We're not in the state right now where we're changing anything. We are really looking at those two sides and being able to look at that. So, for instance, you can do this with anything really. You can do this with your body image. You can do this with your weight. You can do this with your career or the things that you're working on, maybe in your business. You can do this with your family and look at those things that you really want to see, some of those things that you don't like, and start making this discovery. So, with this and with what Carolyn talked about in this interview, it just really struck me as this opportunity to start to run experiments. And I started to hear this recently, and it really resonated for me, where experimentation and that curiosity of who we are and not labeling anything as, well, this is the good side of me, this is the bad side of me, or this is the light and the dark, but being able to view them for what they are and starting to see that in your own language and being able to run those experiments. So taking yourself, putting yourself in a beaker is what I envision, and being able to pour over that what I don't like and seeing what the reaction is, seeing what the feeling is, and really, really just feeling into that and being willing to be open to what that is and knowing that your reaction and your labeling of it is only your own label of whatever may be happening. And so that curiosity allows you to start to embrace that wholeness of who you are. So I hope that gave you a different way of looking at some of these tools that we shared in class so that you can dive a little bit deeper and use your journal. Use that opportunity to write and be able to come through in this area and really make some discoveries for yourself. So with that, I close today's Friday Spark email and hope that you can find some time to really be able to reflect on this in the next few weeks. And remember, if there's any questions or comments, I am always available. You can email me, you can get a hold of me through Facebook, and I'd love to connect and chat about this some more if it's something that's resonating with you or not resonating with you. Please let me know. So I hope you have a wonderful Friday, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye for now.